How inappropriate is it, do you think, if we just spend the entire stream just watching Dutch second division ice hockey from between Amsterdam and Groningen? I'm not sure that's the best way to do things. So what we'll do, I'm just gonna give it another moment, and then I'll click a few buttons and we'll be ready to go. So just bear with us for a sec. There we go. I think what we'll do is we'll hold that there for a second, and let's press that. Hello. We'll give everyone another moment or two just to come in, and I'll bin out those bits and pieces, because I noticed there's a bit of news that's just come out of the Lightning as well. So I'm just interested to see what they're going to be talking about. We'll just give everybody else a minute or two just to come in. Of course, do remember to go share the stream out if you are watching for the early bits. Like I say, what do we think? It's the new stuff. Do we like it? Do we like the new bits? So there we go. What we need, we just need to quickly find that as well. That's what we definitely need. Indeed. We'll definitely, like I said, we'll just give it a moment. That's there. Like I say, again, in the old days, we'd have had word on the fridge, but we don't have that anymore. We have shiny things instead, and we've got shiny things, which are all fun. There we go. That's that there. Apologies for this sort of preamble bit at the beginning. Just the stuff was going on. What do we think? What do we think of the start of the starting screen? Did we like the fact it even comes with its own little window, so I can put obscure hockey bits into the screen, so we can watch random stuff as it's all going along. Either way, I think we need to get rocking and rolling. So we shall. Guys, gals, and the gender fluid, it is Wednesday night, it is 8 PM. Welcome back to the BOTW What's Current stream. My name is Anthony Russell, and we are here for the next hour to take you through all of the machinations, all of the wonderful world of the National Ice Hockey League structure here in Britain. We focus on the National Division. That is our bread and butter. That is our home port. But of course, we make sure that we touch base across the entirety of the thing, from the National as well as Division 1 and Division 2 in the north and in the south. Good evening, everybody. I hope you're doing well here on this Wednesday evening. Of course, the Elite League Challenge Cup final currently ongoing between Belfast and Fife, so we're going to make sure we touch base with that. Like I say, there's just been some news out of the MK Lightning as well, so we'll just have a look about that in a minute. But let's do a tiny bit of housekeeping before we crack on too far with the stream. The first thing is bannersonthewall.wordpress.com, the website where I do all of my hockey writing, mostly focused on stuff to do with the Basingstoke Bison. However, there's more coming this week. But that being said, we had a piece come out today, of course, for BOTW, because a lot of our writing focuses around the Basingstoke Bison. That's the team that I cover in the NIHL National Division. Player arrivals, player departures, game write-ups, all kinds of good bits there to do with the Bison. And of course, we have this previous weekend's games between the Bison and the Peterborough Phantoms. Not a good weekend for Basingstoke. I will touch on that in a bit. But there is a good in-depth, I've done a nice in-depth write-up there for those bits over on the website. And you get that from every Bison home game that I'm able to attend as a minimum, as well as any other bits and pieces I can do. And the other thing that we do on there that's more broadly focused is our Hockey Stories series. The weird, wonderful and wacky world of ice hockey, usually with a bit of a British twist to it, but long form pieces, whether it's historical stuff, player interviews, talking to people involved around hockey. And like I say, there is a new piece coming this coming Friday evening, so should be like I say, it's a bit of a different piece in terms of content for me, but I got to speak to a few people for it. Really interesting. I think you'll get a really good insight into into something, into a part of the sport, and actually a wider part of the world and the way things are going now. Certainly in terms of entertainment, and what we think about that. Should be a lot of fun. That's all coming. There's also the old podcast episodes are over there. Our tabletop ice hockey game, Dice Hockey, there for you to download. Lots of stuff over at bannersonthewall.wordpress.com. The second thing is, if you're watching live on YouTube, hello. Please do make an effort to just share out the stream, whether it's whatever your social media of choice, YouTube, Facebook, Mastodon, Instagram, anything else. Like I say, unfortunately, just because of the way bits and pieces work, algorithms are a thing. So if you are watching live or even watching after the fact, please take a minute just to share out the stream, because this isn't a monologue. This is a conversation. It's about getting everybody involved, going through all the bits and pieces in an NHL, and let's have a great chat about hockey, which we all love. And of course, you have the wonderment of, he's doing it the wrong way around, you've got the wonderment of the chat window over there. Questions, comments, anything you want to chuck in as we're going along and chatting, do please stick it in. But of course, if you are putting anything into the chat window, please do remember the golden rule here at BOTW. That is DBAD. Don't be a dick. Be respectful of other people's thoughts, feelings, and opinions as we travel on our merry way. And well, it's been a little bit of a busy couple of days for me and for sort of the website and the banners on the wall. Brand moniker, whatever you want to see. First of all, we've got our new logo, which is also up here. That's on all of our social media bits and pieces, which looks great. And as you'll have noticed, there's new graphics and bits and pieces like that here on the stream. I decided I wanted to do it partly for two reasons. One, because it just felt like it was time for a bit of a refresh. I've used a lot of the same stuff for quite some time now, and actually it's time just to give everything a fresh look of paint. And it's not a case of changing direction in terms of how I approach what I do, the stuff that I do, or my hockey outlook, but it is just a case of just updating the look of everything, making everything look a bit more, a little bit slicker. And the one thing I've always felt is really important is that the content, the stuff that I write and the stuff that I produce can kind of stand on its own. The value and the quality of what I do is what should make it stand out, and I still stand by that. But what I figured was a good idea every so often was, like I say, every so often with your own house, you love your house, but every so often you do give it a lick of paint just to make it just to freshen it up a little bit. And that's essentially what I'm doing with the look of BOTW at the moment. So we've obviously done the logo's been redone, the stream graphics are now here, so it's not just me pointing a camera at my face anymore. We've got bits and pieces, even got a transition into the bargain, which looks really, really nice. And the website will be coming soon. The one person I do need to shout out is the lovely person who's designed the graphics and bits and pieces for me and is helping me out with this. Chap by the name of Joe Chatterton. Joe is based up in Middlesbrough, a Billingham fan. It's been really, really helpful in terms of just helping me out with some bits and pieces, giving me some really, really great ideas. It's been a really, really good sort of collaborative process. Been really open in terms of helping me get things to look the way I'm happy for them to look as well. And as you can see from the quality of Joe's work, it's really, really good. The one thing that we will be doing at some stage, because the one thing Joe did ask me to do, he didn't ask for sort of tons and tons of promotion, but the one thing he did ask to do, and I said I'd be very, very happy to do, and I've just got to find it, is that there is his work, his full-time work is he does graphic design, but he works for a company that does bits and pieces. They're called Linthorpe Beds. They're based up, like I said, based up near Middlesbrough, and they're trying to raise some money for one of their local charities. So what I'll be doing over the next couple of days, I'll make sure that link is out there for everybody, and make sure that people are able to try and sort of donate, so we can all kind of say thank you to Joe for sort of helping out these bits and pieces, which is really good fun. But yeah, what do we think? Do we like the new look? Do we like the shiny bits and pieces? I think is probably what I'd say on that front. I'm really excited about it. I think it looks great. I think it looks really, really slick. And I think it's just, like I say, certainly for the streaming perspective, I'm just really, really pleased that I've been able to kind of sort of update the look and it not just be so blank and so plain, which I think is really important. Either way, a few bits of news that we should probably touch on. Like I say, we've just had the news out of the Lightning, the Milton Keynes Lightning, as to how they're going to celebrate their 20th anniversary. A one-off jersey for their game on the 11th versus the Phantoms. I can see Jamie's put some stuff there in the chat. 1st of April, Legends Night, where they'll be bringing back some old friends, and hopefully, I hope Nick Paul will be wheeling his food truck up to the outside of the rink for that one. Assume there'll probably be a few other bits and pieces as well. Well, I love the bit at the bottom where it says, we're expecting both matches to be busy, so please make sure you get your tickets in advance. I don't doubt that at the moment where it comes to all things Milton Keynes. The other bit of news, of course, that came out in the not too distant past was out of Hull and the return of Jordan McLaughlin. He will be back as a Hull Seahawk for 23-24. Of course, they'd already announced the return of Sam Towner up front. They'd announced the re-signing of Declan Balmer on defence, and now they've got a netminder. So they've at least got all three positions covered at some stage for next season. McLaughlin, a very interesting one. I was doing some maths earlier today. He's averaging in terms of his sort of the numbers against him. One thing that I took a moment to kind of work out was just sort of the average amount of shots he's sort of facing a game, and McLaughlin's facing just over 39 shots, a game. At the moment, which is obviously pretty high. 39.67 shots per game is what McLaughlin is currently facing at the moment per game, which is obviously pretty high. But when you also consider some of the teams around him, a netminder like Adam Goss at the Bees is only facing about 36 and has a much higher goals against and a much lower save percentage into the bargain. So obviously Hull have had their issues this year, but they have not had the. They are certainly at least getting some support on the back end from McLaughlin, which is pretty helpful. Obviously Warburton's been in and out of the lineup. Tim Lyons has been into the lineup at times as well. It's been pretty. It has been a little bit of a roundabout. Full-time or two-way deal for McLaughlin. It's not said. I haven't had a chance to watch the interviews with Matty Davies or with Jordan himself that I know Hull have put out. I'd certainly hope from his perspective it's a two-way deal. I don't think that I think he's been impressive enough this year. Obviously on a team towards the bottom of the table in the national division, but I think McLaughlin's been pretty impressive this year. He's done well with the hand he's been dealt. We aren't all blessed with amazing defences in this division. So the fact he's able to pull off relatively decent numbers and have an 89.5 save percentage into the bargain on a team that's given he's faced, I think it was something. It was over 1,500. Over 1,500 shots. Yeah, 1,516 shots in 2,293.77 because it's 46 seconds into the bargain there as well, worth of ice time. So I think McLaughlin's certainly doing a lot of good stuff. And I think that's a massive re-signing for Hull. And actually, obviously, Hull have kind of become the Swindon this year. They've leapt out of the gate and they've done some bits and pieces in terms of getting some guys re-signed. But I suppose there's obviously a bunch of different factors for that. It's the idea being that obviously Hull have an issue with teams appearing and disappearing. So the Seahawks poking their heads above the parapet and saying, we're definitely here next year. Here's some guys who have signed. It's definitely a big marker. And also as well, they've already released their season ticket details, Hull as well. One of the things I did see that came out of it was there was some confusion regarding some of the pricing. There is a very, very marked difference for Hull with season tickets for 23-24. Basically, if you pay the whole lot up front, you're getting quite a significant discount. I think it was a £50 discount for a single adult season ticket, and it's obviously the prices fluctuate depending on what variety of season ticket you do, because one thing the Seahawks do well is they offer a variety of different season ticket packages for multiple adults and multiple children and up and around. I did see somebody sort of mention, that the season tickets were, looked like it was more expensive if you paid in instalments, because Hull offer a 4 and a 5 instalment program. Now, what Hull have done is that they are giving people the discount if you pay the lot up front. If you pay in instalments, the prices are frozen from 22-23. I've sat and I've gone through all the prices for this year that Hull offered. So if you pay in instalments, you have a price freeze on what you'll have paid this year. If you pay up front, you get a pretty hefty discount, particularly as well if you're just like a single adult going to a game. £50 off your season ticket just for paying all your money up front is a big thing. The issue, of course, is that it may be a bit of an issue up north where people don't have as much money in their pockets as they do down south. That's just a sad reality, a sad fact of reality. But Hull have not increased their prices. What they're doing is they're offering a discount if you pay in a certain way. And I think there's obviously people will debate the merits and the morals of that, but I think ultimately there's not a price increase if you're a Hull Seahawks fan coming 23-24, and they've already led off with 3 pretty big signings from a local perspective. The captain is back in Towner. Bulmer is back, who was a very, very popular defenseman and one of their top scorers this year, and certainly been one of their more consistent players. And then McLaughlin, who, like I say, has been a really, really decent netminder. The numbers obviously not amazing because they never are when you're on the team that's bottom of the table, but certainly his performances and some of the numbers, like I say, in terms of that amount of shots he's facing per game, when you match that up against his save percentage for comparable of netminders around him, he's doing pretty well and looks like he'll be a very, very promising prospect for the future. Niall there, who I know is Hull based, I'll probably invest in a season ticket for Hull next season, which is great to hear. That's what we want. We want more people through the doors on the regular, watching their teams across the NIHL if they're near to hand. Either way, we've had enough of me talking for the minute, and we've had one lot of graphics. Let's move on and have a look at what happened last weekend in the NIHL National Division. So if I press this fancy button, it moves us to here. Looks good, doesn't it? Doesn't it look good? I'll quickly move across to here, obviously, because I need to have a look at bits and pieces. But we have to go back, of course, to last Friday and the first game of the weekend. And Telford have had a bit of a rough run of form recently. Of course, they lost last week as we were on the stream. They lost to Peterborough. They then travel away on Friday to the Steel Dogs, and it's another defeat for Telford, a 6-3 loss for them. A good win for Sheffield at home, whose form's been a little bit wobbly as of late, but a decent win for the Steel Dogs at home, and a 5-goal second period from the Steel Dogs, having fallen behind to Finley Howell's goal. They go 3-1 up through 2 from Alex Graham, in fact, and 1 from Lee Bonner. Rick Clark makes it 3-2 before Graham gets a second period hat-trick, and Brady Doxey makes it 5-2 after 40 minutes before Sam Watkins makes it close before John Kirk. I believe what was the phrase? They got a bigger nose in Sheffield, so they edged themselves away at that one. 6-3 the final score there. At the end of that one, 4-1 in Belfast. Is the comeback on for the Flyers? I wonder will be the question there. So like I say, Telford, of course, having had certainly a rough sort of a period of bits and pieces as of recently. Obviously, they have rebounded a bit, and of course, there's the other game from this weekend that we need to talk about with Telford, but we might say that is right at the very end, so we will save that till last. But we'll move on. That was Friday. In Saturday, and where I spent my Saturday night, which was feeling very, very frustrated and very, very bored. Bison 0, Peterborough 3. The most Phantoms game that ever phantomed in the history of Phantoms. Basingstoke got slathered and were absolutely snake-bitten for 60 minutes. However, I've gone into some depth about this because this is the last game of the season between Basingstoke and Peterborough. Gone more in-depth with my thoughts over at bannersonthewall.wordpress.com. Goals in this one from Martin Susters, Tom Norton, and Jarvis Hunt. Fair play to Jarvis Hunt. His goal in this one was an absolute corker of a strike to beat Alex Meadow. But ultimately, I think the really, really big story here with this game, he says pressing the wrong button on his mouse. The really big story in this game actually is the shot count, and I mean, it's from a Basingstoke perspective, 3 goals on 20 shots is bad enough, and it's not great from the defence because actually, really, Mem couldn't do much about 2 of the goals, but only having 22 shots at home is pretty criminal, and this is sort of also part of the. I think part of the issue sometimes that the Bison just don't seem to, for whatever reason, under Ashley say they just haven't learned how to play the Phantoms there. You've got Slaven Anthony. We've all been there, haven't we? All at some point across the years. Definitely a frustration for all of us. But definitely, like I say, I've sort of, as this is the last game that the Basingstoke have had against Peterborough this year, I've knocked together some more in-depth thoughts about the Phantoms, because I think there's a few things they do sort of deserve credit for, and a few things that I've tried to give them credit for as a result of this one. Either way, Swindon, well, they go back to back. A good win on Friday night, good win on Saturday night as well. All the way down in Wiltshire for them. A 4-1 win for the Dogs over the Swindon Wildcats. 1-1 after 2 periods. Lee Haywood for the Dogs in the first. Aaron Nell for the Wildcats in the second. Charlie Thompson puts the Dogs in front, and then it's 2 empty net goals for Sheffield in this one. One from Jason Hewitt, one from Jordan Buessa. Oh dear, what have I done there? I've managed to. I'm going to have to click here because all the buttons all at once. All the buttons all at once. Sorry, I'm late. I was watching the extended cut of Solway's highlights. I'm surprised you've managed to make it before 9 o'clock. If that's the case there, Chris. But hey ho, no dramas there. I've managed to click all of the wrong buttons all at the same time, though, mate. So you're just in the middle of enjoying me having a fumble around here, whilst I still kind of get used to the frustration that is Sportal, because we're just trying to get everything up all at the same time. There we go. Let's press that button then, and we'll cut back. There we go. But yeah, a couple of back-to-backs this weekend. Of course, Basingstoke and Peterborough played each other twice over the weekend, and the Bees and the Seahawks had each other twice this weekend. The first game Saturday night down in Slough, and it's a 6-4 win for Hull in this one. They kind of got the lead and never really let the Bees get too far into the game. Nathan Salem and Chris Wilcox in the first against the 1 goal from Stuart Mogg. The Bees do tie it up in the second period through Brendan Walkham, but an offensive breakout there from the Seahawks in the third. 2 goals from Emil Svek and 1 from Nathan Salem to make it 5-2. The Bees do come back through Adam Rossbottom and Stuart Mogg, but Svek with a hat-trick goal there, a third period hat-trick from the big guy to make it 6-4 with 22 seconds to play, and that ends the game there and sends the 2 points back up the M1 towards Yorkshire. So I'm going to say a good Saturday night for Yorkshire. All the teams coming down south doing the business and then running away with the points on that one. And then we get to then we'll have a quick visit to the Thunderdome and the other back-to-back of the weekend, the MK Lightning and the Raiders. What was that there? One with 15 shots, something we all love to see happen to Swindon. I don't think that's right. I don't think they've got that right. Interesting stat. Hull have won the series between the Bees 4-1. Yeah, they're definitely. I think it's the strange thing, isn't it, for Hull, is that the Bees have managed to eke out some results against teams higher up the table where Hull haven't. Hull have beaten that team sort of in that bottom 5, but haven't managed to get many results above the teams above that, whereas the Bees have kind of stung, pardon the pun, have gotten results against some of the teams a bit higher up where Hull have not. But then lose, the majority of their games against Hull, which doesn't help them massively. A 5-1 win for the Lightning then on Saturday at home, probably helped massively by the 3-goal first period, 2 goals of which from Malik Martelli. A fantastic night for the young man, where he ended up with 2 goals and man of the match. Sam Talbot with the other goal in the first there. In the Raiders get on the board in the third period through TJ Anderson, who's signed to have a very, very productive end to the year, surely playing himself into a full-time roster spot with the Raiders first team for 23-24. But goals from Liam Stewart and what was reportedly a very good goal from James Griffin, making it 5-1. At the end of that game there, so 2 points, very, very much needed for the Lightning as they look to try and keep pace with the Knights at the top of the table. And I've got to the end of that page now. Finally, you see, this is the faff of dealing with Sportle. But the last game then from Saturday, how would they keep pace with the Knights? Well, very few people keep pace with the Knights, mostly because especially they're going to score 8 goals in one game. However, I'm not sure that that this game sheet is entirely right. Actually, no, apologies. There's another one where it looks like the game sheet is completely wrong, because this definitely did happen. An 8-5 win for the Knights in Bristol against the Pitbulls, which obviously helps Telford and Basingstoke massively. Knights go 2-1 up through Jake Witkowski, who's certainly making his presence felt, replacing Grant Cooper for the Knights. Jay Warren gets 1 back, becomes 4-1 in the second period through Archie Hazeldine and Cole Shudra. The Pitbulls get themselves within striking distance through Callie Robinson and Ben Solder. Witkowski gets his hat-trick to make it 5-3. Corrich makes it 5-4. And it's just all over the place in this period. Shudra Kelly, and then two goals from Mac Howlett eventually. Now this must have been in the third, because who's scoring an empty net goal in the second period? I knew there was one of the game sheets that went slightly bonkers, and it's this one, because I personally do not think that this empty net goal was scored with 53 seconds left of the second period. So thank you for whoever runs the game sheets in Bristol. I'm not sure you got that one 100% right, but it's okay. Sportle is new, and we're all still learning on that front. What it of course then meant was on Sunday that the two sides met up again, and we end up with the Knights scoring 16 goals in 2 games against the Pitbulls, an 8-1 win for Leeds, and they go mad in this game with 7 different goal scorers. Witkowski gets 2, and then goals for Hayward, Dylan here, Adam Barnes, Zach Brooks, Cole Shudra, and Mac Howlett. The lone goal for the Pitbulls coming from Elliot Lewis. He takes the tiniest bit of shine off of the Knights win there. And the Knights just absolutely putting everybody to the sword. And a good night gets even better for the Knights, because MK lose in Romford by 6-4. They were 1 goal up after 20 minutes thanks to Bobby Chamberlain. Jake Sylvester and Alex Roberts pull the goals back to make it 2-1. Liam Stewart equalises, and 3-2 thanks to Jack Cooper by the end of the second. And then sometimes what Romford do, they've certainly done it to a couple of teams this season, they just seem to have a little burst of quick fire goals. Jake Sylvester finishing off his hat trick, and then Mateo Gomicic making it 6 goals to 2 with 8 minutes to go. But MK, because they've got as much firepower as anybody in the league, arguably as much as Leeds. Liam Stewart and Tim Wallace then score within about 50 seconds of each other. It's 6-4 with time to spare, but the Raiders managed to hold things out. And I know Kev says there are lots of penalties, definitely a lot of penalties in this one. If we skip down here, Sean Norris getting a match penalty for checking from behind. James Griffin getting a match penalty for fighting into the bargain in this one. And there was at least another one as well. Yeah, Tim Wallace getting a match penalty for slashing at the final buzzer. All 3, as far as I'm aware, and I've not heard any differently at this period in time, all 3 to miss the Lightning's game in Basingstoke this coming Saturday, which is not what the Lightning will want. They've already had 1 bad loss to the Bison at home in Milton Keynes. They're not going to want to have the same thing happen in Hampshire against the Bison side that really need to get some momentum going, having lost against Leeds, lost twice against Peterborough, and now have MK. Aside from the fact that is a horrible run for the Bison in terms of playing the top end sides, they definitely want to be able to try and get some momentum going, and they will want to do it at the expense of the Lightning. Peterborough then on Sunday night, the second of the back-to-back there, a 4-1 win for the Phantoms in this one. He says he's managing to skip that through. Martin Susters, Lucas Ludkowski, Luke Johnson, and Duncan Spears with the goals for the Phantoms. Liam Morris with the lone goal for the Bison. It should be said, Liam Morris has been an absolute man on a mission over the last couple of weeks, in terms of just seeming like he's out of nowhere. He just seems to want to attack everything and just keep going to the net. He's been put on this line, this sort of makeshift line for the Bison, of course, with a lot of injuries. No Doughty, Petts has been in and out of the lineup with injury as well, which has meant Morris has generally found himself on the line with Jack Peacock and Travis Penny, who's Penny, of course, who's sort of been guesting in from the base at Buffalo to try and fill out the space. But what Penny and Peacock have been very good at doing for Morris is just opening up some space, because Liam Morris, when he puts those afterburners on, he's very hard to catch. The refs were awful. I mean, it's an easy enough one to moan about. I always find it very interesting when people complain about it after they won. But certainly not my preferred reffing combination on Sunday evening in Peterborough. Obviously, a fair few bits and pieces in there. I know Tom Norton got a penalty for boarding in amongst this. There it is. It's there. Martin Susters managing to get 2+2 at the same time for interference and illegal equipment. So there you go. Let so much go. I don't necessarily have a problem with letting stuff go if they're consistent with what they let go. I don't think that's a problem. Like I say, my issue is consistency, and it's consistency across the game, because the referees will occasionally get edicts of how they need to approach certain penalties in certain in-game situations across the course of the year. So the approach for a certain penalty in October may not be the same as March, depending on kind of what's happened. But if there's consistency from minute 1 to minute 60, I'm quite fine with that. If there's complete inconsistency in the game, then that's definitely a big fat no-no. 2 players in A&E. That's probably why you're not happy then, Kev, and I'll let you off on that one. But yeah, the Bison, short on ideas, and like I say, just not really, just again failing to kind of solve Peterborough. And like I say, go read my piece over on the over on bannersonthewall.wordpress.com. I think the Phantoms are definitely solvable. There is a way to do it, but Basingstoke, I think, just didn't seem to be able to work out the way to do that. One of the other back-to-backs then, of course, Hull and the Bees. The Bees end up dropping the points again. Hull with a 4-point weekend, massively important for them when you consider how the league table is shaping out in terms of games played. The Bees have got games in hand on the Seahawks, but a 6-3 win for the Seahawks over the Bees. Like I say, Jamie mentioned in the chat earlier, the Seahawks have the season series now over the Bees. If things come down to it, the Seahawks would be above the Bees, so the Bees are going to need to get results elsewhere. Dan Rose and Jordan Fisher with the goals in the first period, everything tied up at 1. The Bees take the lead through Ryan Webb, but goals from Owen Bruton and Emil Sveck put the Seahawks ahead. Harvey Stead ties the game at 3 apiece early in the third period, but goals then from Andre Themar, Nathan Salem, and the man back for next year, Sam Towner, makes it 6-3, and the Seahawks with those all important points ahead of what's coming. And then Telford, like I say, not a result that sort of helps Basingstoke. Certainly one that doesn't help Bristol either. I see Pixelate, ladies and gentlemen. If you, for those of you paying attention, he's Joe. He designed the graphics. Go subscribe to him. Also follow him on Twitch. Go follow him on Twitch as well because he streams on Twitch occasionally. Hull were great on Sunday. Well, I'm really pleased. I'm pleased to hear that. If nothing else, I was thinking of Hull because I had turkey dinosaurs and chips for lunch. So guess what I put on my chips? But yeah, Telford with a 6-5 overtime win. A superb game. A very tempestuous and aggressive game between these two sides. Tom Carlon making it 1-0, with the Cats come back through Aranel and Eggers Bedbris. Trading of goals in the second period as the teams end up 4-4 after 40 minutes. Rory Herman second from Carlon, a goal from Vlad Luca for the Tigers. Nell and Picozzi for the Cats in that one. In the third, Sam Watkins puts the Tigers ahead, but a goal from Aaron Nell with 6 seconds to play gets Swindon at least a point. But Rory Herman, who's absolutely hit the ground running like a freight train in Telford since coming from the Cardiff Devils, with a superb overtime goal. And there's also, if you haven't seen it on the Telford Twitter, a really, really lovely photo from the end of this one. But yeah, lots and lots of agitation in this one. Tom Carlon crashing into Rennie Marr, that forces him out of the game. A match penalty for Deacon Fielder for fighting after a hit on Tomasz Malazinski. Fantastic video. Fantastic video of it, because it's a very, very strange one. You don't see the hit from Fielder on Malazinski. Certainly Swindon people I've spoken to feel that the hit was high and wasn't very good, but then everybody seems to sort of crowd in on Fielder, and Ballon Picozzi seems to walk towards Fielder. Now Deacon Fielder is a man who can handle himself, and if he sees somebody storming towards him in a very grumpy mood, there's only one thing Deacon Fielder's going to do, and the gloves went off and Deacon Fielder filled in Ballon Picozzi pretty handily. So much to the point that Picozzi didn't get his gloves off, and that's why Fielder got a match penalty for fighting an unwilling combatant, because Picozzi wasn't given a chance to decide whether he was fighting or not on that front. It looks like Fielder's going to be sitting a couple of games for that one, unfortunately. Hands down, best game of the season, so close, 6 seconds, seriously, 6 seconds. I think from a Basingstoke perspective, I remember a game where Bison came back against Romford where it was 2 seconds in regulation to tie the game to send it to overtime, and then Bison scored with less than 2 seconds of overtime left to win it. That was pretty impressive. That was a couple of years ago. That was pretty crazy. But yeah, lots and lots of penalties. Lots and lots of penalties in that one. Not a game for the faint of heart, shall we say? But certainly a playoff style atmosphere and a playoff style game that had a little bit of everything for everybody. The big question, of course, for Swindon is going to be what is the status of Rennie Marr. He had to come out of the game, replaced by Dean Skins for the third period and for overtime. But there is nothing confirmed about Marr heading into this weekend so far. I'm just going to move that slightly up like that, because then all the teams appear on the screen all at once. There's the league table for the National Division. What a ridiculous points differential the Knights have. They've got 86%, sorry, nearly 87% of all the points on offer. At least putting up that Kieran Brown got his 100th point, only for it to be taken away. I don't want to mention this to anybody, but let's scroll down, because according to Spordle, oh dear, where's the missing assist gone? Where's the missing point for Tomasz Malazinski on that one? Of course, Joe Scott says it's 100 points, and we will take Joe at his word for that one. But yeah, I did make me chuckle on that one, everybody. So all questions to Joe Scutts over at NIHL Stats for that one. But the Knights, top of the table, top of the heap, 78 points from 45 games played, 4 points ahead of the Lightning in second with a game in hand. The Knights very much with one hand on the National Division title so far. Peterborough then are in third. They're 2 points now back of MK, 72 from 46. Sheffield are slowly starting to be reined in a little bit by Swindon, but not by much. 63 from 47 for the Dogs, 56 from 47 for the Cats. And then the Raiders have now officially qualified for the National Division playoffs. They are in. Having missed out last year, the Raiders will have postseason hockey in Romford in 2023. They are 50 from 46. Now, looking at the way things are starting to line up at the moment, there is a chance, of course, that Peterborough and MK will swap places. So it's not really 100% confirmed who the Raiders will face in the playoffs. But it does look like we're going to be heading towards a Sheffield and a Swindon home and home series. 39 plus 61 for Mala, yeah, which is not what it says on Spordle. What have we got there? They have 40 plus 59. So someone's done something wrong somewhere, and it's probably Spordle. Let's be 100% honest on that one. 4-2 in Belfast. Oh dear. The nerves are starting to jangle in Ulster right now. But yeah, like I say, it looks like we're probably going to get Sheffield versus Swindon. That'll be a very, very good playoff series. That is pretty much the toss of the coin. The Bison then have a 0-point weekend, but they still have a game in hand. Telford winning, of course, on Sunday. But the Bison have 36 from 46. The Tigers have 35 from 47. That Bison game in hand is probably going to be over that 3-game weekend they have in a couple of weeks' time. Bristol then in ninth. They have 29 from 46. Hull overtake the Bees. They have 24 from 48. The Bees, however, have 23 from 46. 2 games in hand. But of course, as we know, the Seahawks have the season series over the Bees. That's the National Division done. But yeah, there we go. Managed to get through the National Division eventually. I need to get better or quicker at flicking my way through Spordle. It's very, very clunky, as you can see, particularly for something like this. But it does the job. And like I say, what do we think of the graphics then? The graphics look good. Certainly a lot of fun to be had with it, and I just think it looks really, really nice. How is everything kind of lining up though? Is things visible on the stream? Are they too big? Are they too small? Please do let me know. Like I say, this is the first time out with all of the graphics and bits and pieces. Let's just I was just double checking. There's no news that's just leapt out before we dive into. Before we dive into North 1, nothing doing at the moment. No, we appear to just be kind of ticking along. Which is what we're after on that front. What we'll do then is it's time to look at the other bits and pieces. So let's do as we usually do. Let's head north into North 1 and what's going on there at the moment. We will skip ourselves down ever so slightly there from last weekend's result, which we're not going to laugh about. And of course, after Whitley moving that game their games around to Maybe their games around so they could all go to the cup final on Sunday. We're not going to talk about football here, but sometimes things just don't go your way. Either way, North won last Saturday, the 25th. Some pretty big results. Certainly a big result for Billingham, a 9-0 smacking for the Stars as they get past the Scimitars. A good win on the road for Deeside. They win 8-5 in Blackburn against the Hawks. Widnes managed to squeak their way past the Nottingham Lions by 5-3. A much better showing for the Lions than in recent weeks. They've been on the end of some pretty heavy results, but they do at least give a good accounting of themselves in Widnes on Merseyside on Saturday night. Sunday then, not a good night for the Wild. They win on Saturday, but they shipped 6 at home against Deeside in the local derby on the Sunday. Great result for Deeside, of course, as they look to pull themselves up the table and get level on games with everybody. The Hawks, wow, they end up with a 0-point weekend. They lose in Solihull 4-3 against the Barons. The Barons, of course, still pushing for the top half of the North 1 table there. A bad night again for the Scimitars. 2 home games this past weekend, and they end up conceding 15 goals. The league champion presumptives, the Solway Sharks, with a 6-0 away win in Sheffield against the Scimitars in that one. You don't want to say it's a surprise. It's a surprise because it's not. Because Sheffield, unfortunately, have not been very good this year. But we look at the North One. And we look at the North 1 table, and like I say, apart from 2 teams, everybody is in the playoffs at the moment. The one thing that has not been confirmed is whether Nottingham have been docked points for the games that were awarded to other teams over the last couple of weeks. We know that they've been listed as being wins for the other team, and they've been listed as 5-0 wins. But have they been docked points for it? That's not been confirmed by the EIHA at the moment. It's not been confirmed by the Lions either. We await confirmation on that. However, as we can see, Solway by far and away in command here. 47 from 25 to the Warriors, who have 39 points from 25 games, an 8-point gap. It is very much advantage Martin Grubb and the boys from Dumfries heading towards the end of the season. However, Billingham are nipping away at Whitley's heels here. 38 from 27. So the Warriors have games in hand, but the Warriors have got to win those games in hand. And we've seen at times this year they've slipped up against Billingham quite a few times. They've slipped up against Solihull. Deeside could very easily cause them a problem if it came down to it as well. Second place is not safe for David Longstaff's team. Solihull then in 4th, 33 from 24. Widnes 30 from 27. Deeside 23 from 24. So Deeside very much with a chance of challenging for 5th spot. Blackburn 20 from 27. Nottingham 10 from 27. Sheffield have 3 from 28. But of course we do not know what is happening in terms of any potential points deductions for the Lions. Let's move ourselves on then to South 1, and a few interesting results certainly from this weekend. So from Saturday, the one result that was slightly surprising, although be it Streatham winning isn't a surprise anymore, but 10-3 win for Streatham Redhawks against the Invicta Dynamos. A big win on the high road there for Streatham. They need a 4-point weekend this weekend for the Redhawks, and they will retain the South 1 title for the 3rd consecutive year. A big win for the Oxford City Stars, though, away in Romford against the Junior Raiders. A 12-4 win. It looks like Milton Keynes are going to be thoroughly confirmed as last place in South 1. But a good win for Chelmsford. 6-4. They win at home against Slough, denting Slough's chances of trying to catch Solent at the top of the table. Invicta, though, they do rebound the next night. A fight-laden game. Battles galore. At least 4 fights I saw made their way into Hockey Fights UK for this one, but an 8-3 win for the Dynamos against the Chieftains. The Jets managed to get some points out of the weekend. A great performance from the MK Thunder to run it close, but the Jets win in MK in a shootout. And having scored 12 goals the night before, the Stars then lose at home to Romford. What a topsy-turvy bottom end of the table it is in South 1, all things considered. Some of those teams are from 5th downwards. Anybody can beat anybody in any given night, although you do wonder whether the Stars ran out of puff scoring 12 goals in one game for them. Still not been confirmed what's happening with the Nottingham and Whitley game as well. That's very true, Jamie. Thank you for mentioning that. But the South 1 table looks like this. As we said, Streatham will be confirmed as champions with a 4-point weekend this coming weekend. They hold the season series over the Devils. They will hit the 46-point mark, which is the maximum that the Devils can achieve. So if Streatham can get those points this weekend, the title stays on the high road. And I'll be back at commentary for Solway and Streatham 2. Streatham want revenge, according to Ryan. What they very much do, and we will certainly we've touched on that a few times, Jamie, that Ryan Watt and Vanya Antonov are desperate to make it back to commentary to kind of prove a point against Solway from last year. But yeah, the Solent Devils pretty much going to be safe in second place there. Slough in third, 27 from 24. Invicta, though, with their points, are 27 from 25. So the third place is not secure yet for that very promising young Jets side. Chieftains in fifth, 24 from 25. Romford, 19 from 23. Oxford, 18 from 23. You wonder if you're Oxford, who are they better off facing in the playoffs? Do they have more of a chance against the Jets or the Devils? You'd think most teams, given Slough's youth, some of those teams with a few older guys might want the Jets to try and kind of push past them or use that bit of veteran nous to try and take them on. MK, though, 10 points back of Oxford at the bottom of the table. They have 8 from 23. I'm just going to very, very quickly take a sip of water. Because there are not many games this weekend in North 2. Just the 3, in fact. But a big win. The game, Hull Jets win their game in hand at Ice Sheffield against the Sheffield Titans by 9 goals to 4. A bit of a not the greatest defensive performance there from the Jets. They won't be happy about that, and they'll want to tighten up heading into the business end of the season here. Sutton, though, they also win at Ice Sheffield, a 4-1 win for them against Coventry, who, like we say, they've been on some pretty decent form, all things considered. But a good win for Sutton to keep them above in the hunt for a top half finish and a place in the playoffs for them. And then a bad loss though for the Altrincham Aces. They lose 3-0 to the Nottingham Lions at the NIC. Something of a surprise. The Lions' form has not been very good as of late, whereas Altrincham has fluctuated up and down a bit, but they've generally been okay against the teams below them. But yeah, a shutout win for the Lions at the NIC. So what that means in terms of North 2 is it's still very much advantage Hull when it comes to the league table. The Jets with 40 points from 22 games, Telford 38 from 22. Now, with North 2, as far as I remember, there is no playoff series. It's just a case of the top 4 teams qualify for the playoff weekend. Sutton, 25 from 21, so that win for them will prove very important, especially with Altrincham losing. The Aces dropped down to 4th, 24 from 24. The Sting, with games in hand, looked like third, could very much be theirs. And the other issue for the Aces is Coventry. Whilst the Blaze lose to the Sting, 22 from 24, the Aces are within striking distance of the Blaze, just 2 points behind them. The Titans, 17 from 22, Bradford, 14 from 22. And the Lions, well, they're getting a little bit closer now to Bradford with that win against Altrincham. They have 11 from 23. And then we head to South 2, as that's all loading up. 5-2 Belfast at the end of the second. A short-handed goal from Ben Lake there to keep everybody on their toes. Has certainly eased the nerves of our friends from Ulster. Either way then, South 2 and Haringey with a much needed win. Lots of a couple of games on Saturday, and both of them ending shutout wins for the away side. Haringey win 8-0 in Cambridge against Lee Valley. Of course, the Lions, for their very impressive new building on its way. I wonder what sort of a force they'll be like when they're able to play out of such a nice building. However, it's still bad times for our friends from Lee Valley as they ship 8 against a team challenging for the title. And then Invicta win 5-0 away in Oxford against the Rising Stars. Shout out to Ben Mollett, the Oxford Rising Stars keeper, who apparently has managed to pull his groin. He'll be done for a little while as a result. Sunday then, Peterborough and Basingstoke obviously had their ding-dong 5-4 affair last weekend in Peterborough, but it's a weekend for Phantoms over Basingstoke by the look of it. The Phantoms win 6-2 in Basingstoke on the Sunday. Bristol, keeping their title hopes very much alive, games in hand, and they needed a win against the Invicta Mustangs. But a 6-3 win in Bristol does the business, and it keeps Guildford and Haringey within striking distance of the Pitbulls. Lee Valley, though, another wretched weekend for them. They lose 13-1 to the Swindon Wildcats down in Wiltshire to keep them very firmly rooted to the bottom of the table. But what that means then, of course, Guildford not in action this weekend, but they now have a game in hand over Haringey, with having played the same amount of points. Guildford 35 from 21, Haringey 35 from 22, but it's that big blue machine lurking up behind them. The Pitbulls have 30 points, having only played 18 games. The ball is very much in Bristol's court. As you can see there from the maximum points tally here at the in that sort of second to last column. The Phoenix maximum can get 41. Haringey can only get 39. They need results to go their way, but the Pitbulls can get it. If all things went according to plan, the Pitbulls could theoretically win the title by a point. Invicta in third, they have 29 from 21. Streatham 28 from 20. Peterborough 27 from 20. Those top six are all confirmed in the playoffs for South 2. Swindon then get with their big win, keeps them very much in the hunt. 21 from 19. Cardiff have 18 from 21 to round out the top 8 in the playoffs. The playoff spots. Chelmsford are in ninth from the outside looking in. They have 14 from 19, so 2 games in hand and could get level on points with the Fire. The Oxford City Rising Stars, 14 from 22. It's going to be a really tough ask for them, given the fact that they have only got a couple of games left, and the most they can get is 18 points. They are done playoff wise. As are the Basingstoke Buffalo, 8 points from 19 for them. Solent have looked like they might just potentially avoid the wooden spoon. 5 from 19 for the Junior Devils. 2 wins on the year for them, having had none last year. Lee Valley, 2 points from 17, just the 1 win for them. Unfortunately, it feels a little bit like they will pick up the wooden spoon this season. Just the final 4 in North 2. Thank you, Karen. I knew given your bits and pieces you do with Tigers too, that you'd be able to answer that question for us. So thank you very much for that. But yes, the playoff weekends. Now, the one thing, of course, that has been a question for me for a while is that we're pretty much aware as to where the weekends will be. And we know, of course, Coventry, the big showpiece event at the Sky Dome, the weekend of the 15th and the 16th of April, is going to be massive for the National Division. We, of course, have our theories as to who's going to be there. And it looks like, as we've mentioned already in the chat, we're staring down the barrel of Solway versus Streatham 2, which, I'm still manifesting this out there. I really want to do commentary for that game. If anybody from the Drop the Puck lads up in Widnes who did the stuff last year, give me the mic. I really want to be on the call for this one. I'll do colour. I don't mind. I just want to be in the commentary box to just be involved with that game. It's going to be amazing. But then the question, of course, is confirmation of tickets for the weekends for the other 4 divisions. We have had no details after the NIHL events, folk, for divisions 1 and 2 North and South weekends. It looks like, as far as I'm aware, that the North 2 weekend is in Widnes, but we've had no confirmation of tickets for any of those bits and pieces. Certainly, I think the worry will be last year is that it was felt that the weekends in the respective divisions weren't particularly well attended, and maybe that people will wait until teams are confirmed as being in them before releasing too much in terms of ticket details. For me, we're in March. The weekends are next month. People need to kind of know how where they're going and what they're doing if they need to get tickets for these things. I think would be very, very useful. Certainly, I think one of the issues for the NIHL events team is, they're all people who are doing not just day jobs, but also working in other things with other teams as well. I don't doubt that it's a really, really stressful thing to try and organise. What I really hope, though, is that we can get some word out of it soon. Certainly, the thing I'm conscious of from my side is media access for bits and pieces for the National Division weekend. There's nothing being confirmed about that. I will be asking, of course. I'll be asking a few of these questions of our friends at the NIHL events team. When I know, I will let you know as well. But certainly, I think it'd be really good, because I think people just kind of are at the point now where we kind of need to know what's going on. Of course, we can kind of figure out from what's going on. So as we know, the top 4 in North 2 are the ones who make the final 4. There's no playoff series. If we just quickly scoot back to the North 2 table, now as we can see, Hull and Telford have already qualified, and it's pretty much going to be a case of, in my personal opinion, of one of 2 of 3 making that weekend. It's going to be between Sutton, Altrincham, and Coventry. And that great form from Coventry has really played them into that last spot for that North 2 weekend. We'll look at the fixtures in a moment for these bits and pieces, but there's certainly a lot of ground to be covered in all of the leagues. Playoff spots for teams confirmed. There's only one spot left in North One, but that's the nature of North One. But obviously, not every spot's confirmed in South Two. We've got a three-way race for two spots in North Two. Obviously, in South One, everybody makes the playoffs, but who's going to make that final four weekend off of those 2-game series? That remains to be seen. And there's 3 teams heading for 2 spots in the national division as well. So I think it would be helpful, I think, for everybody if all of the relevant details for stuff were confirmed. Also need to know times of face-offs for some of the national NHL national quarterfinals, i.e. MK, Leeds and Bristol. Yeah, because of course those sites, MK should have South 1, Bristol have, as far as I'm aware, are doing South 2, and Leeds are doing North 1, which of course had a great weekend in North 1 in Leeds last year. Some fantastic hockey played, really exciting, exhilarating stuff. But yes, Leeds have got a quarterfinal to play, MK have got a quarterfinal to play. With all due respect to Bristol, I hope they don't, because I want Basingstoke to be in there instead, and then I want Bristol and Telford to be fighting it out. So you never know. But we'll obviously see what happens on that front. Like I say, I'm going to put the feeders out to the folk at the NHL events team and kind of get the gist of what's going on. When I know, I'll let you guys know as well. So what we should probably do as we head towards the 9 o'clock mark is we are going to have a look at the upcoming fixtures for this weekend before we kind of open everything up for a bit of a free for all, and we can just kind of sort of chat about whatever for a little bit. So let's get up the fixtures for the upcoming weekend. And a big thanks, as always, to Joe Scutts at NHL Stats. Remember, nhlstats.wordpress.com, your official source for these bits and pieces for the 22-23 season. But let's look at the National Division first then. So this upcoming weekend, which starts, no Friday night games in the National this weekend. Everything starts on Saturday, the 4th of March. So a couple of games there at 6:30. Basingstoke host Milton Keynes Lightning side with 3 key parts missing in Wallace, Norris and Griffin, as far as we're aware. Also a 6:30 face-off at the Castle. Leeds take on the Bees. I wouldn't fancy being the Bees making that trip. And it's also a 6:30 face-off in Swindon for the Wildcats against the Phantoms. 7 p.m. face-offs then over in Bristol for the Pitbulls against the Raiders, and a 7 p.m. face-off in Telford as well for Telford versus the Hull Seahawks. The Bison will be wanting the Raiders and Hull to do them a favour. We then move into Sunday. 5 o'clock face-off at the Hangar for the Bees and the Steel Dogs. 5:15 at Sapphire Ice and Leisure for the Raiders against the Telford Tigers. And then everything else is a 5:30 start. Hull versus Swindon, MK versus Bristol, Peterborough versus Leeds. That could be a very, very tasty game. The Bison have the night off in the National on Sunday, which means I get to just have a relaxing evening because I can't control the results. Can't control the results elsewhere. So I'm not going to worry about things that can't control there. Bees will be without their Slough boys as well. They will be. Let's just quickly scoot down the bits and pieces for North One then as we head around the NIHL. 5:15 p.m. face-off over in North Wales. D-side take on Billingham. Also, and then a 5:30 face-off in Widnes over on Merseyside. Widnes versus Whitley. This could be a real banana skin for the Warriors here. They must not look past Widnes, or they're going to be made to look fools. But also a tough game for Solway. They face off at 7 p.m. against Solihull. Solihull have sprung a couple of results this season, and could really will have to be on their game to get past the Barons on that one. A few games then on Sunday, quite a lot of the division in action, in fact. 5 p.m. face-off up at Hillheads for Whitley versus D-side. 5:30 p.m. for Billingham against Widnes. 6 p.m. for Blackburn versus Solihull. And then, the Nottingham Lions are back in action on the small pad at the National Ice Centre. But they have to face down Solway, and that's going to be that is not going to be an easy task. But it should be live, as far as I'm aware, on the Nottingham Lions YouTube. 7 p.m. 15 p.m. face-off, sorry. It will probably be late, because unfortunately for the Lions, they're kind of always late. 5-3, 24 seconds into the third period, and Fife have got a goal. They really are not going away lightly, are they? Anyway, let's look at South 1 very quickly for some fixtures. A few then on Saturday. 5 p.m. face-off down at Gosport, as is the norm. The Devils take on the Rumford Junior Raiders. Slough take on Streatham. at 6:30 p.m. as the Red Hawks look to push home, look to get themselves over the line for the league title. And the battle of the bottom two at the Thunderdome, 7 p.m. face-off for the MK Thunder and the Oxford City Stars. Then on Sunday, just the 3 games there. Solent at home again. They have the MK Thunder at 5 p.m. Chelmsford take on Oxford at 6 p.m. at the Riverside. And then a reverse of the night before. They play at the Hangar on Saturday, and on the High Road on Sunday, Streatham versus Slough. The title will be in the building. I am sure of that. Let's head then to North. Let's head to North 2 then. Why it skipped itself up the page, I have no idea. But let's look at this weekend in North 2. So there's a few more games than last weekend at least. 4:45 face-off for the Bradford Bulldogs. They take on the Altrincham Aces. Coventry versus Sutton, 7:30 at the Skydome this Saturday. And we just talked about how close it is between those two sides. A massive game in the context of making that Final Four weekend for North 2. The Blaze looking to avenge their loss this past weekend. And then at the World's Most Versatile Arena, the Hull Jets look to keep on course for the title with a 5:30 p.m. face-off against the Nottingham Lions. On Sunday, 4:15 face-off for the Aces against the Sting over in Manchester. Again, a big game in the context of that Final Four weekend. Telford versus Sheffield is a 6 p.m. face-off over in Shropshire. And the one thing I can't help but notice is that next weekend, I know it's the next Saturday, the Saturday after the 11th, but look at that. That game there next weekend between Coventry and Hull could be very, very big in terms of the context of what happens with that title in North 2. And then we'll skip to South 2. Where again, why is the page skipped up? I don't know. I understand why it's done this, but hey ho. We won't worry about it too much. Either way, South 2. A couple of games on the Saturday. 5:15 p.m. face-off down in Kent. Invicta take on Oxford. 6:30 p.m. face-offs for Guildford. They take on the Bases, so Buffalo, and the Phantoms take on the Chelmsford Warriors. Into Sunday then, I don't have a confirmed face-off time for Basingstoke against Swindon, but that should be a pretty decent game. The Wildcats, of course, looking to secure that playoff spot. That's still very much in their hands. And a very, very big game for Bristol. You would think that the Pitbulls will be able to squeeze past the Solent Devils, that 5 p.m. face-off on Sunday over in Bristol, but you cannot take anything for granted in this game. But the Pitbulls, with that massive amount of games in hand, they cannot afford a slip-up if they want to get close to that South 2 title. And that is all the fixtures for this upcoming weekend in the National Ice Hockey League. So we've gone around the whole thing, all the results, all of the fixtures, everything covered. So as we head towards the end of the show, questions, comments, anything, free for all, whatever we want to talk about. Those 2 shorthanded goals really do seem to have cost the Flyers, unfortunately. Yes, they probably have done, unfortunately, in terms of that. One thing I am going to quickly look at is, and see if I can find it, just because it made me chuckle. Let's see if I can find this, because I found this the other day and it really, really made me chuckle. I can get rid of all of the bits and pieces now for the I can get rid of all the bits and pieces now from the whatchamacallit, from the fixtures. I'm going to try and find this. Thoughts on the Caps trades? The Caps are weird because we're sort of we're not bombing out the season, but we're also not exactly going for the playoffs. It's kind of, the Caps make the playoffs, they'll kind of trip and fall into them and go out in the first round. So that'll be a bit of a it's a bit of a strange one. I get why they've done it. I know Lars Eller, of course, has gone to Colorado today, and Marcus Johansson has gone. And I know some people have been not been as high on Eller as previously, and certainly haven't been as high on Johansson. But I think the Caps are kind of seeing the opportunity now to get in some of those younger guys. Where has it gone? I need to find this because it made me chuckle when I saw it earlier. And it is this. I'm going to click on this here because this is going to hopefully load up. Because then when I do that, is the Cincinnati Cyclones of the ECHL are collaborating with the Cincinnati Zoo. So for one night, they will wear these jerseys, and these things look amazing. Look how good that is. That is fantastic. But yes, promotion in conjunction for with the Cincinnati Zoo. 7-3 Belfast, done and dusted. Yeah, they have just absolutely stomped on that one, haven't they? Never sad to see a Kieran Long goal, though. Never sad to see a Kieran Long goal. Need a jingle to go with the graphics. I'm not sure what I would do with the jingle, to be perfectly honest. Maybe sort of for the beginning bit, I could find some background music to do. I don't really want to be talking over music the entire time. Back on the caps though, I'm very, very happy with the Rasmus Sandin trade, if only because it means we have at least 2 defensemen under contract for next year. Sorry, 3 of course, because they've re-signed Nick Jensen. So at least we have 3 guys now. I get why they've done it, because they can't in good conscience go all in. Because they are on the fringe of the playoffs, and who can you convince to kind of come for that length of time, to be a playoff rental here when you may not even make the wild card spot, and you're staring down Boston potentially at the top of the thing, maybe, I don't know, or whoever you get at the top end of it, Tampa or Boston, you're staring down the barrel of. The Caps are going to struggle to get past them. So I see Dylan Larkin has now has been extended. He's got an 8-year deal from the Red Wings. So blimey, that is not a huge surprise though. And obviously a very, very talented young player. For my hockey card collecting friends, to see OPG 22-23 is out, so I might pick up a box of that because I do like OPG. It's generally a really, really good way. If you want to get into hockey cards and kind of want a cheaper product to get yourself started with, OPG is very good. Kane from the Blackhawks trade to New York. I'm very surprised, but I didn't expect it. It's been the worst kept secret in the NHL for quite some time, Niall, unfortunately. So I get why he's done it. I think Kane has given his service to that Chicago organisation. Taves is obviously now done for the year because of his immune condition and long COVID. And I think if you're Kane, the window on you becoming a the end. If you're Kane, your chances to win a cup are now minimised. Yes, he's got a couple already, but he wants as many as he can. That New York. The thing for me with New York is that D. Is going to need the bottom 6 are going to need to be defensive demons, and the D end are going to need to be on it, and Shesterkin needs to be perfect. The top end looks amazing in terms of its scoring prowess. I wonder whether they're physical enough to get past to Boston or to get past to Tampa in the East. I also wonder whether they're physical enough to get past Toronto. Really, Toronto can be quite physical when they need to as well. Yeah, the Jonathan Quick dump to Columbus too. Really, the end of an era for Kings. Apparently the Columbus are looking to flip him pretty much immediately. Quick is apparently not happy with this at all. As long as Pittsburgh don't make the playoffs, well then I'm happy as well. Then I'm happy. Yep, same here. Don't want Pittsburgh doing well. Not what we're after at all. Let's take myself off of that because we don't need to. We've seen the hippo. We don't need to. We can move on from the hippo. Yeah, lots of bits and pieces doing there. I did say it would. I did tweet the other day. Sort of the NHL trade deadline is all sort of like. Big player moves and player picks. If you had an elite league and a national division trade deadline, you'd have at least one Peter Odom Wingate moment of somebody turning up at the wrong rink thinking they're about to be traded when they're not. So I just think that would kind of be the lot of it, to be honest. No news from elsewhere that I can see. Obviously, we're scuttling our way towards. The end of the cup final, which it looks like Belfast have put to bed. The other big thing, of course, is 1st of March. Happy St David's Day to any and all of our Welsh friends and followers. I am part Welsh. My granddad was a really, really proud Welshman. Sadly, no longer with us. Hasn't been with us for quite some time, but I always make a point of thinking about him on a day like today because I'm really proud of my Welsh heritage. I'd love to be able to speak Welsh. Unfortunately, I think I've only got room in my brain for 2 languages. 3 of you include whatever my son sort of gobbles out with it from time to time as well. Either way, then we're sort of, like I say, nudging towards. We're over the hour mark, as it were. Just adverts on my thing for Cadbury's cream eggs, which I'm not a huge issue. Don't have a huge issue with. What we'll do very quickly, we're just going to very, very quickly check Sportsnet whilst we're chatting, just because you know something crazy is going to happen. But yeah, it's the end of an era for the Kings, isn't it? Just you think of everything that Quick's done for that franchise. I'm surprised, really, he didn't have a no movement clause. But there we go. Let's not mention the rugby. No. There's bigger issues with Welsh rugby at the moment than losing games to England, to be honest, right now. No other big trades by the look of it. Yeah, Dylan Larkin, 8 years, 8.7 AAV in Detroit, which fair enough there. What's Ella gone for again? Second rounder in 2025. So, fair enough. Cap's going to get a magic bean in exchange for Lars Eller, who's in the last year of his contract. So. But I think this is the thing, the Caps have got Lapierre, they've got Michael, they've got people who can come in and fill some gaps until the end of the year. I really hope that they use the kids, some of the young guys that have been kind of developing. They did also sign someone to an entry level. Who did the Cap sign to an entry level do this today? They did sign someone. Where's it gone? It was there. Caps did sign him. Ryan Hoffer, playing in the WHL. 36 goals in 53 games in the WHL. Sounds good to me. So there's young guys kind of coming through, although he sounds like he's going to be a prime Hershey candidate. Sandine in tonight, by the way, Jamie, for the Caps. His visa and bits and pieces have been sorted, so he will play in Anaheim by the sounds of it. But yeah, last call, ladies and gentlemen. Questions, comments, anything else? Anything we want to talk about the NIHL, about anything at all? Feel the Caps are in a soft rebuild. The cup window is probably closed, but needs to be competitive to keep Ovi's chase of the record. 100%. Also, I don't think they're going to want to keep Ovi in the midst of a full rebuild. I mean, fair credit to Taves and Kane for hanging around in Chicago, where they've fully blown it up. But I think Kane's gotten bored now, especially with not having Taves around to kind of do it with him, because he's been in that, obviously missed an entire year. He's not missing the end of this year. If you're Kane, the option is there, and also for Kane, he's pretty much it's pretty much a set. He's going to be on a line with Panarin in New York as well. So I'm interested to see how the Rangers do with post-season play. That's the thing I'm confused by. For me, I think I don't want to say it. But I kind of want it to be the Leafs' year. I kind of feel like they might be able to do it. Mostly because I don't want Boston to do it. And I don't want Boston to win, and I don't find Tampa very interesting. So it would be I kind of want the Leafs to win, if the Caps can't find a way to do it. But yeah, I don't know. The Leafs feel like they're going all in. I also don't think the Leafs are done. I think he's still. I think Dubas is still looking for moves. But yeah, there we go. I think we're probably at the end. If no one's got anything else, we will call it there. Bannersonthewall.wordpress.com, your number one source for everything related to the Basin Set Bison player, comings, player goings, match reports, and all that wonderful stuff for the last nearly 12 years. It's in March. We're officially 12 in like a couple of weeks. So that's pretty crazy. My blog is of the age where it could go to secondary school. But of course, all that stuff is there. 12 years worth of stuff about the Basis at Bison on the website, as well as our Hockey Stories series, long form pieces about things from all the way back to the 19th century to the present day. We go behind the Iron Curtain, into wars, and catch up with people from the present day. New piece comes on Friday evening from Hockey Stories. I'm really excited about this one. Like I say, it's something very different. I'm also going to introduce you to someone to a couple of people who you may have no idea about at all, and that'd be really, really interesting as I sort of take a bit of a more thematic look rather than looking strictly at something purely hockey related. But that's there. The back catalogue of the BOTW podcast is there. You can download Dice Hockey. It's our tabletop ice hockey game. That's there for free. All we ask is that if you download it and you enjoy it, please consider donating some money to Parkinson's UK. That'd be massively appreciated. But there is a wealth of stuff, like I say, over a decade's worth of stuff to have a read of over at bannersonthewall.wordpress.com. Facebook.com/banners on the wall. If you like getting all your news and bits and pieces through your Facebook feed, make sure you go over and hit the like button. I've somehow in the last year managed to like triple the number of people following the page, which is pretty crazy. So something's clearly working, because I think I only had like about 200 people following at the beginning of the season, far fewer than on Twitter, and I've now got like 600 people following the page, which is pretty badass. So thank you for that. But yeah, facebook.com/banners on the wall for all those bits. Twitter.com/banner. Twitter is bannersOTW. Follow me on there. Hit the follow button. Finally got over 2,000 people following us on there, which was pretty cool. But that's the best place to kind of keep up with what I'm doing, my sort of rolling commentary on British hockey, world hockey, nonsense as well. You know, generally making a few jokes at other people's and my own expense, because that's kind of what I do. And also where you can get the best links to kind of everything that either I'm involved with or new pieces on the website. And of course, there's here Wednesday nights here on YouTube, the BOTW What's Current stream, the first and only show that covers all 5 divisions of the National Division, live Wednesdays at 8. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button down the bottom there. Hit the bell for notifications, and that means you get notified whenever we go live. And that'd be really good. And make sure, of course, to share bits and pieces out to your friends. I keep saying this, and it's not just for me, but for any people that you like. If you read something you like, share it out. If you find a video you like, share it out. I know people like stuff to watch it for later, but people don't see likes. If you really enjoy something, share it out with people, and whether that's me, whether that's our friend Tom Graham there from the Wildcast, whether that's some of Jamie's stats, whether that's a view from the bridge, whether that's anything from the people who create stuff that you enjoy, share it out. It's really good. And like I say, there's a couple of people who you may not be familiar with who are going to be in this Friday's who interview for this Friday's Hockey Stories piece, who I think you're really, really going to enjoy. So make sure if you read about them and you enjoy what they do, that you share out their bits and pieces as well. But there we are. Another week done in the NHL. We are edging ever closer. We are within 10 games for a few teams at the end of their season. The National Division is creeping ever closer. The title is currently being held in one hand of a man with a very heavy helmet in Leeds. Can they do it? I suppose is the question. Will the Leeds Knights falter at the final hurdle? Will Solway and Streatham do the business? Streatham could be champions of South 1 by Sunday night and officially book their place to Coventry. Will Telford hold on in North 2? Can Bristol win their games in hand in the South? There's plenty of things still to be decided, albeit looking at the chat, it looks like the IHL Challenge Cup is pretty much done and dusted. But either way, we'll be here every Wednesday night for the remainder of the season to walk you through. I thank you very much for giving up the time, whether live or after the fact, to join us on the party bus here to keep a look at all things NIHL. So hopefully you've had a good one. Be happy, and if you can't be happy, then please do be safe. As my friend Scotty Watts would say, take care of yourself and somebody else. For bannersonthewall.wordpress.com, this is Anthony Russell saying stay safe, and so long till next time. Not a great week for the Bison, but such is life. Bring on Saturday.